Hello, everyone. Are you guys ready for the lunch? I am. So I'm going to make this quick. Let me start with the topic that we are going to talk about. I believe by now you folks have heard about AI almost 50 times since this morning, from Andrea, from Jeff, and anybody in between, right? But how do you get to that AI? There's a journey, and that journey is what we're going to talk about today. And there's a Menti built into this presentation. I'd like you guys to get some interaction going, like to hear what your thoughts are in terms of BDC. So with that, our topic today is how do you bring complexity to a clarity? And it's not easy. I'll try to do my best, make sure that you get a perspective of what SAP is trying to do and how we can get there in this journey. So the topic is how SAP Business Data Cloud transforms you have all kind of different cloud out there, right? In terms of data warehouses. So how do you bring clarity from there, right? So with that, a little bit about myself. My name is Mustansir Saifuddin. It's probably the longest name in the room. It sounds like Mustansir. So if you folks who have not known me, this is the easiest way to remember me. Is Mustansir. I'm all about data. I've been doing this for almost 27 years plus. Primarily in the SAP space, I've done a lot of other data warehouses over the course of my career. But other thing that I'm excited about is I like riding. Anybody in the room likes motorcycles or is a rider? Got a couple. So, and then in my free time, I like to do a podcast. And the podcast is about people, operations, and technology. As you can see, technology is the last thing on the list. It's always about people, and if you get those two right, technology will follow. And today's conversation is all about that. How do you get to the technology that can help us get to our goals, right? So we're gonna keep the questions to the end, or we can have it outside. I'm gonna be here all day, so I want to make sure that I can get through the content today. A little bit about ourselves. Innovative Solution Partners started this company back in early late 90s, early 2000s. We've been around for 25 years. We are a Michigan-based company. Our mission is, like I said again, it's all about connecting the dots between people, operations, and technology. And the only way you get as an organization to the next level, which is everybody's talking about now, AI, data clarity, make sure that you have everything ready for your artificial intelligence. The only way you get there is having that all those processes together and your team on board with it, right? So, as far as our topic and talking points for today, we will start with what is Business Data Cloud? How many of you have heard about Business Data Cloud before coming to this session? Quite a few. Okay. I know SAP has done a wonderful job over the past few months trying to hype this product up, but we'll go into the details of what really is Business Data Cloud and what it can do for you. We always start with the why. Why BDC? Why now? Okay. And that's the most important conversation in this room. Why are we going to talk about BDC and what it can do for customers who are on their journey in a cloud data warehouse? And what is BDC? Where does BDC fits in and what can do for them, right? Then you want to talk about some of the common scenarios. A lot of customers are sitting in different, I would call it the journey has already started for S4. A lot of customers are already on it, but there are others who have mixed environments. And this journey or this conversation about common scenarios will touch upon that. Then possible roadmaps. That's important, right? If you are in a certain journey, you want to know exactly where you fit in and where you want to go. And then we'll open it up for Q&A. Okay, with that, if you all can take out your phones and just do a quick scan on the QR code on the screen so we can get on with the Menti. I'll give it a few seconds and then we'll switch over. So let's start with the first question. When you hear about SAP Business Data Cloud, what comes to your mind? What is that one thing that sticks with? All right, data lake, data warehouse. Organize. Seems like data warehouse has taken the lead, or big data. That's a good one. Virtual storage, yes. All right, so we got quite a few different connotations or understandings of what business data cloud is and what it can, what comes to your mind. And it's a combination of all of these things, to a certain degree, right? So by having those points about what it really is, it will help you understand where we want to go with this, right? So let's move on to our next question. Where are you in your journey with BDC? And there are three possible answers, right? Well, majority of the room is on the researching part, which is interesting. Oh, somebody said implementing. Like to hear or know who's that in this room. Don't be shy. Raise your hand. If it was a mistake. But if you're implementing, kudos to you. So we got majority of them researching. A lot of them also don't know exactly what it is and what it can do for you, right? So, and that's okay. What we're going to learn today is all about what is BDC and why, right? So that takes us to the last question. Knowing what you know today, would BDC replace or complement your existing cloud data warehouse? Wow, a lot of uncertain. That's good. Complementing, yeah, makes sense. Very few replacing. Okay. So that's a good gauge, right? So a lot of folks think that it can complement, and a lot of folks are still not certain about what the product can do and what it's about, right? So we will learn more about this. Let's get back to our presentation now. Business Data Cloud, or SAP Business Data Cloud, came into being earlier this year. As you all heard about the announcement from SAP, it was a big thing at Sapphire. A lot of folks who have been at Sapphire knew that this was a big new product launch from SAP. Now, this product contains a lot of different components, and we'll go through the details of that. So let's start with the components, right? Because everybody wants to know what the Business Data Cloud means. And if you start from the middle section where you have all of the blue areas, if you look bottom up, you have the bottom layer, the object store. That's what SAP is calling it. The data products. That's the building block of what BDC is. Okay. And you have SAP managed data. You have customer data products. So the combination of these two kind of makes up the foundation of what BDC is about. Now, right above that, you see the four verticals. You have the SAP BDC cockpit, you have your BWPCE, you have your data sphere, and SAP Databricks. Let me start with the first one. The BDC cockpit, as it sounds like, that's your administration console, trying to manage your environment. This is where anybody who is an administrator in your organization will be responsible for managing the BDC cockpit, right? Now, BWPCE, an area talking about customers who are currently on their on-prem BW systems. SAP has given a utility, a migration path for them to take the existing BW and move it into the cloud. And this is the version that they will be moving into if they decide to go the BDC route. The third part, the SAP Data Sphere, that has been around for quite a few years. If some of you may remember the old name, Data Warehouse Cloud, now it's SAP Data Sphere. That is part of bundle of BDC. Now that's your semantic layer. That's your actual cloud data warehouse, right? And then you have SAP Databricks. This is all of your machine learning, your AI capabilities that are built into the BDC environment or the BDC platform. That's the most powerful engine within the whole BDC landscape, which allows you to apply your machine learning capabilities within the four walls of SAP. Okay. Right above that is your presentation layer, your SAP Analytics Cloud, or SAC, famously known as, where you have your business intelligence capabilities, your AI capabilities, and your planning. So folks who are using SAC for just BI perspective, they're just using it for dashboarding, reporting, etc. A lot of customers are using SAC for their planning capabilities also. So all of that is built into the BDC layer. Now, on top of that is something called intelligent applications, intelligent. Okay, in the past it was called Insight. SAP rebranded that, but the idea is intelligent applications is what allows you to run BDC out of the box, right? You have these pre-delivered, I would not call it business content, but capabilities within the BDC platform where you can turn on this intelligent applications using the BDC cockpit, and now you have access to all the data that you have in your S4 environment, other line of business environments. As long as it's configured in BDC and it's available as a data product, now you can see it as readily available. So that's a big thing. It's a big change from what things have been done in the past. At the very bottom, you see all of your source systems. You know, the line of business from SAP can be SuccessFactors, Ariba, other systems, as well as your S4 system, right? You also have your non-SAP systems. A lot of organizations want to bring in or marry up the SAP, non-SAP data together. BDC allows you to do that. So that's one of the capabilities or the benefits of going to BDC. So we talked about the components. Now, that was the technology side, right? Think about from a personal, from a user perspective, right? Who is the user of a BDC? And you have all these different personas or roles within BDC that allows you to interact with the system. Starting with a data modeler, right? That's your standard data modeling person or user who is responsible for making those models within BDC. Then you have your administrator. We talked about that in the past slide, right? Analyst responsible for answering ad hoc questions. You have access to that in the BDC environment. Then you have your SAP developer. You may have use cases where you want to bring additional data from your source system and you want to build that. That's your developer doing that work. And then, of course, you have a data scientist and engineer working on your ML and AI use cases, right? And lastly, but the most important piece is the consumer. So your line of business consumer is able to access that data within the BDC environment, whether it be intelligent applications or custom built applications by customers or partners. So the whole area of intelligent applications is wide open. SAP is building a lot of those out of the box, as well as partners are working with them to build that content in BDC. So that's like the user side of it. Okay. Now, fast forwarding it, what does it really mean? Why do I need to go to BDC? What is in it for me, right? As an organization, a lot of these customers are asking the question, why BDC, why now? And what does it bring for me? So let's look at a high level, right? There are some misconceptions about BDC. Is it a rebranding of an existing product or what's going on? It is a brand new product from SAP. It does have components that have been around for quite some time, like SAP DataSphere, SSC, but that's part of the portfolio of BDC. It brings simplification. The whole idea of BDC came about was to make sure that customers are able to do everything they want to do on their data in a platform that allows them to not only bring data together, but also be able to run their ML AI capabilities on top of that information. A big change from SAP is openness. Now you're able to bring SAP non-SAP data in a harmonized way in one platform. That's what BDC allows you to do. And of course, you have your business semantics. That's the most important part, right? A lot of customers who have started their journey on third-party data warehouses, they know some of the challenges when you go that route. And with DataSphere, with BDC, you have your business context intact. You have your customer master, your vendor master, your transactions. All of that is very well harmonized within this SAP BDC environments, right? And you have a single platform. That's the biggest selling point in this case is you don't have to go anywhere else to do your planning or your AI actions on the data that you want. All of that is built in all in one platform. And then Databricks partnership is what's a big component of BDC. Now it's not the full-blown Databricks system, but it's SAP Databricks, which still have a lot of capability that allows you to use those on top of the data that you have within the environment. And lastly, but not, I mean, the most important part of this all conversation is how do you govern the data? How do you secure the data? Bill talked about, security. It's very important, right? And your data governance is potential for your issues that you can run into in the future. So you make sure that all of that is built into that one platform and in one cohesive way. There's a little deeper dive into that whole why part, right? And now bringing together applications. This is a SaaS solution, so you have everything available as a SaaS environment, right? And you have scalability. This is the most important part. So you don't have to start off, with a big system. You can scale it up or down depending on what you want to use it for. One important part in the bottom, if you see plans for SAP Business Warehouse modernization. A lot of customers have big investments, over the years. They have done a lot of work in their business warehouse system and they still want to keep it around. There's a path forward for them in BDC. So you don't lose all that knowledge and the information. And then, of course, as I mentioned, we talked about AI. All of this, what we're doing together is making sure the data is secure, data is cleansed, and it's ready for your AI capabilities. So all of that makes up the why Business Data Cloud. So when we talk about BDC, it's always about, where is your journey going to take you? A lot of folks have business warehouse in the environment. They may have already started the journey with third-party data warehouses. And if you are in one of those areas or on that journey, what is the path forward for you, depending on the scenario? So business warehouse customers, right? What are some of the challenges that you face today? And there are quite a few, depending on who you ask, right? So let's look at some of the challenges on the BW side. First of all, it's an old environment. It's been around for almost 25 years or so. Customers who have been using BW know that it's complex. It does require a lot of maintenance and upkeep to keep up. Make sure that you have all this content being managed in the environment. You are not able to innovate on that data, right? You have this restriction about what BW can currently do for customers. And then, of course, openness of the information. So all of that are some of the reasons, customers feel like that, the current business warehouse environment may not be able to satisfy some of the newer capabilities they're looking for, with S4, with they want to apply AI capabilities in the data. So from a path perspective, SAP provides a pretty clear-cut path for customers who are on BW. If you choose to reuse some of those investments that you've done in your business warehouse system, you have a path forward. Starting with BW75, if you're a SAP BW75 customers, you have a migration path available from SAP where you can take your existing on-prem BW, move it into your BW75 Private Cloud Edition, PCE. What that does, it allows you to not lose all the work that you've done over the years, but be able to still continue using it when you migrate from your on-prem to the SAP BW75 PCE. The same applies in the middle of the slide is for BW for HANA systems. BW for HANA will be around for quite some time in the future, but if you choose to and you want to leverage BDC, you also have a path forward for that. You can migrate from your BW for HANA on-prem to your B for HANA PCE. There's another migration path forward for customers. And then at the very bottom, you see customers who are using pure play HANA Enterprise, your SAP HANA on-prem. So for those customers also, there's a path forward where they can take the existing on-prem SAP HANA and move it into SAP HANA Cloud. Now, as you see in the middle layer, the lift and shift part, right? So you have two options. Either you move into BWPCE for the top. You can use the data provisioning cockpit or the product generator to start creating those data products we talked about earlier, right? So you have that option, or you can just keep using your BW 7.5 PCE version, right? So you have both these options available. Same thing goes to be for HANA. And if you notice that towards the bottom, SAP DataSphere is also there. Customers who have already started on the journey with DataSphere, they can still continue using it as is, but they will move on to the BDC 4 starting, I think, next year. And then customers who are using SAP Analytics Cloud, that SAP Analytics Cloud, all of that work that customers have done will still continue to work when they move into the BDC 4. Now you have a choice. You can coexist the way it is and still keep using your SSC environments the way you're using it for DataSphere, or you can start, moving into BDC available options like intelligent applications, etc. So the options are open. Once you're in the BDC 4, this is where the actual innovation starts. And that's where the real crux of the matter is, right? You want to start innovating. The only way you can innovate and move forward is make sure that you have everything available in BDC as a data product. And either it's customer managed or it's managed. You have that information available, and now you're able to apply machine learning, AI capabilities on top of that. A big conversation that is happening around, and folks who are using third-party data warehouses, data fabric is a big topic, right? As we talked about in the previous slide, customers have a choice. You can start new with SAP Business Data Cloud as a greenfield implementation, so you don't have to reuse any of the current environments that you have, and you want to start fresh. That option is available to you, just like S4. Or you can modernize your HANA or your BW systems, as mentioned on the two verticals on the right-hand side. You can migrate your SAP HANA on-premise to SAP HANA Cloud, and then you can extend and augment, right? Augmentation is an option. So that's really helpful if customers still want to use certain capabilities of their SAP HANA Enterprise. They can still continue using it, and then you can extend and do additional work on it. Same thing goes for BW for HANA. So that system allows you to kind of start using it as is in the BDC environment, or you can start building the data products for your data sets. All of this is possible because SAP brought in this whole new capability, the BDC platform, which is Databricks. As you can see in the middle, you have your data products as the foundation layer, right? On top of that, you have either, if you're using BW and you want to move your BW and BDC, you have that. And then you have your business semantics and modeling as part of DataSphere, and of course, planning and analytics as part of SSC. The reason why we have Databricks part of this environment is you can now don't have to move your data out to apply this machine learning. You can do so within the four walls of BDC and be able to leverage Databricks capability and without doing any copy of the data. So the whole journey is about making sure you have everything available in BDC, and now you have the capability of sharing the data between Databricks and your other BDC. Moving on, third-party data warehouses. How many of you in the room have started the journey on third-party data warehouse? Anyone? You? Yeah. So there's a lot of options available for customers, from Azure Data Factory to Snowflake, and the list goes on. And depending on where your organization is going, you may have already started, as we heard from a couple of folks in the room, right? Where do you want to be in the future, right? If you are an SAP-centric organization, the question comes up is, am I better off moving the data out of SAP into my third-party data warehouse? Or do I start leveraging some of the capabilities of BDC and be able to either coexist or replace? So that's the question that you have. And the reason why that is important is, what are some of the challenges when you look at a third-party data warehouse? And this is just a small list, but it's basically highlights some of the challenges when you face or move data out of SAP's four walls, right? First one is, how do you govern the data, right? Make sure that you have the right governance in place, and you deal with fragmented systems. And that's a challenge. I mean, once you can start using your other solutions, the problem is, how do you manage the data? How do you manage all these different pieces of the puzzle? And then business meaning is a big one, right? SAP has got a certain way of defining certain objects within their SAP systems, right? Once you take it out, you lose that business context. How do you build that, right? And you have to make sure that you are able to build that back in your third-party data warehouse. And then integration, big part, right? A lot of money, time is spent on integrating systems to make sure those are running smoothly as you move forward. And those are some of the challenges that you see with third-party data warehouses. Now, why is BDC there? BDC allows you to manage some of those challenges, right? In a more controlled way. You have our data platform, which is unified. You have business context that is intact, so you're not losing that information. And you have your seamless analytics built in. So you don't have to go anywhere else to use any other tool to do your analytics. You have that available in the BDC environment. And the top of all of that is how you govern the data. It's all already available to you. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel and come up with a new way of doing it. It's already part of the package, right? Now, talk about some of the capabilities or I would call strong suits about BDC, right? Governance is in the middle. You have very strong capabilities as far as planning. SSC planning has been around for quite some time, very mature product now. If you had asked me 5 years ago, I would be very skeptical about SSC, but now it's come a long way, both planning and analytics side. They have the data bricks part, which allows you to do your data science capabilities in BDC. And then, of course, you have analytics and integration, which are coming up to speed, and they will eventually get there. So, and then data federation. So those are some of the pieces is why you want to consider SAP BDC as your future cloud data warehouse. Why do you want to do that? This is where it really kind of boils down to, there are certain pitfalls if you stay with what you're currently doing. Cost is the biggest factor. How do you manage your current systems if you don't start innovating, right? Data drift is another big question for customers who are using third-party data warehouse, right? How do you keep those data pipelines clean and up to date and make sure there's nothing broken in between? Challenging, right? And when you get busy with that, you missed on innovation. So that's where the bigger challenge comes in. Everything is moving so fast. You need to have the capability to harness the power of your data and be able to apply ML, AI capabilities on top of that right away, not moving the data from one place to another. And this is where SAP BDC, with Databricks come into play, where you have open data available, quality is there, you don't have to worry about that, that's built in. And then you can apply domain-specific AI. Andrea talked about that in the presentation. Why do you apply AI? Because once you have your data that is cleansed and its business context is intact, it's much easier to apply your AI use cases. So what does Databricks bring to the table? You can bring together everything in one model, structured and unstructured data. You have the zero copy option, so you're not moving data around. You can apply your capabilities of Databricks on top of existing data. So no copies of the data. And then, of course, you have the data engineering all built into that platform. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? We all want to go to AI. We all want to use the capabilities of AI, but it's challenging. We talked about hallucination. We talked about not having the correct base for the AI to work. So the answers you're asking for will not be the answers you're expecting back because your data is not clean. So the only way you can do it is have a platform that is further along the lines in terms of cleansing, make sure that it is all business content, context aware, and it's all in one place. So you're not moving things around and trying to make sense out of the data, applying AI on top of that information, right? So you saw this slide earlier. Right Data Foundation enables the practical use of AI. That is the most important topic today is how do I use AI on top of data that is ready to be consumed, right? So this is where SAP allows you to have BDC with all these different business contexts, all contained in one environment. This one is important from a business perspective. If you think about AI, you want to apply AI in a contextual manner. You want to make sure that everything that we talked about can be able to connect with each other and understand. So the CX agents that we're talking about on top, analytics agents and finance agents, all of them can only work when you have a data platform which is ready for AI. And Business Data Cloud is sitting right in the middle, allowing customers to use that capability, having that one single platform, right? Okay, with that, I'd like to end my presentation. I know actually I'm over time, but we are right on time for lunch. There is a guide which you can download using this QR code if you want to. Just talks about some of the common themes about how you can leverage Business Data Cloud and what it can do for you. So, and if you want to, if you're existing customers and you want to understand your capacity units, that's how SAP is calculated, the use of BDC. There is a link for that also in this. But I'd like to open it up for Q&A. You have 2 minutes. Otherwise, we'll break for lunch and you can find me outside. Questions? Yes, sir.
I maybe you covered this earlier, but data retention, like financial audits or whatever, I mean, how does that get addressed?
So great question, right? So a lot of times when you're talking about data retention, you talk about historical data in terms of the last 10, 15 years of history, right?
Yes.
So data archiving is one of the strategies a lot of customers are using, and you want to look at that first. And it depends on the industry and the use case. Sometimes a lot of customers have regulatory requirements, legal requirements. They have to keep that data. But how much of the data is being used, right? You want to only bring data information that is currently being used or business relevant, right? Anything that can be stored away in archive, I will recommend that in this case. Any other questions? Right. So we're gonna break for lunch and then we're gonna start back at 1:15 if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Here's my contact information if anyone wants to connect with me or have any questions, you can feel free to contact.